Welcome to Let the Quran Speak. Many people find themselves in financial difficulty. And in this sort of circumstance with COVID-19, it can be tempting to engage in unethical behavior. With me is Dr. Shabir Ally. Dr. Shabir Ally, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
It's my pleasure to be on, Safiyyah.
Now, what does the Quran, does the Quran offer any sort of guidance about how to respond to financial difficulty and how to not give in to those impulses that perhaps one might have to engage in dishonest behavior to try and get ahead? So as we know, the government is giving out money to many individuals who are suffering, and there aren't that many checks in place at the moment, so anybody could apply. And if you want, you can get the money without necessarily needing that money or having the requirements that the government has actually stipulated. Or, for example, let's say you have a product that many people like, you can raise the prices so that because you know that people will pay for it, right? So how does the Quran offer some sort of guidance to us to stem those impulses that we might have?
Yeah, a lot of guidance, actually. To begin with, the Quran in the second chapter, in the 173rd verse, which is referred to as Ayatul Bir, the chapter about righteousness, defines righteousness as not simply just praying in this or that direction, which some Muslims may superficially think that that's what defines us. This is how we pray, we turn in this direction, and so on. But the Quran in that verse goes on to say, no, righteousness is all of these things, and then lists among the stipulations important ethical behaviors, like, for example, fulfilling one's contracts. And it says that these are the people who are patient fil ba'sa'i wa darra, in situations of hardship and difficulty. So even in situations of hardship and difficulty, we have to be patient. We have to remain with ethical standards according to that verse, and we cannot disobey God just because times are tough. And instead of looking to cheat others, in fact, the Quran even tells us that in the third chapter that the believers are those who yunfikuna fi sarra'i wa darra. They give charity even in times of difficulty. So they give charity in times of ease and also in times of difficulty. So even when we are hard pressed, rather than thinking of cheating somebody else, we Muslims need to think about giving a little bit of charity, even out of the little resources that we have at the time. And I say little not to demean it, but to say comparatively so. Otherwise, whatever we have, we should consider that to be adequate. We should be thankful to God for what we have, and not try to increase it by dishonest means.
Mm-hmm. Now, some people think, it's the government. The government has money, and if we take some money from the government, we won't really affect very much. So it's okay. It's this big entity, and it's not really going to make much of a difference. How would you respond to that claim?
Yeah, of course, we're looking at this from the religious standpoint, but it's worth saying that, of course, this is illegal. You cannot cheat the government and get away with it. In fact, the law will come after you. And those who apply for funds that they do not really qualify for, though the checks are initially very sparse, the balances will come back to get you at the end. So, one should do everything that is legal and not do anything illegal. But from the religious point of view, which is our focus, this is against all of our religious teachings. A Muslim believes that God is constantly aware of everything that we're doing, and the Muslim even has the idea that everything we do is actually being recorded and will be shown to us back on the Day of Judgment. Here's the record of all of your deeds, big and small. People will be amazed, and they'll be saying, what kind of record is this, that it even notes down all of the finer points of what we did, things that we had forgotten about. So we are finally responsible to God, even if the law does not come and get us. We can run from the law, but we cannot run from Allah. And the Muslim has to be truthful and honest in applying for such help. But there's one more thing I want to say about this, Safiyyah. You know, there might be people who are watching this show and they do not necessarily believe in God. I mean, a lot of people believe in God. People believe in God through many different faith traditions. But let's say somebody does not believe in God. But at least we can still appeal to that person's conscience, which you know is basic to all human beings. And we can say to them, look, the government is giving us money so that we can stay at home and stay safe and healthy. I mean, this is the whole point of it, so that we do not have to go out in the hustle and bustle to earn a living, and then, lo and behold, we catch the coronavirus. And then we bring it home and spread it to the rest of our families and so on. Oh, what a disaster that will be. So the government is reaching out with this overture, this act of kindness and graciousness to help the populace. Of course, it's helping the populace with the populace's own money, right? But still, I mean, this is a decision that had to be called, and it's the right call to help people out in this time of crisis. Now, it'll be a kind of a slap in the face for people to turn around and misuse those funds and apply for it when they do not actually deserve it. You know, one good turn deserves another. And even if one did not believe in a religion, still we have basic ethical principles built into the human psyche. Our consciousness should, our consciences should be a good guide in this regard, and we can't say just because it's the government we can cheat. But no, we have to be honest, because that's who we are as persons. It's not who we're going to cheat; it's who the cheater is, and we can't be cheaters.
And you know, it's interesting to me that you're mentioning that there's all this about financial dealing within the Quran, because sometimes people, you know, they pray and they fast and they're, you know, they're good Muslims. They seem like they're good Muslims, but they don't actually take into account the financial side of things. So, you know, they might cheat in terms of taxes, and, you know, and they might think that's okay, right? They might not associate it with religion.
Yeah, but you know, so much of this in the Quran. For example, the 83rd chapter of the Quran, وَيْلٌ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ, woe to the defrauders. The Quran is dead set against the defrauders, the kha'inin, those who cheat, and so many other passages of the Quran denouncing those who cheat others, those who lie, those who steal, those who defraud, those who misappropriate trusts. The idea of trust or amana in Islam in general is very prominent. So some Muslims will live and die by this. If you, they're so serious because they've been so schooled in Islamic culture that if you give them something, you know, they will make absolutely sure that they return it to you in good shape as a sacred trust. So, you know, we know that if you put money in the bank, your bank balance will show exactly how much you deposited minus bank charges and whatever. You know, that's exactly how much money you have, right down to the penny, and the bank is responsible for giving that back to you. Well, a Muslim, if he or she is conscientious of their religion, they will be just as careful to return every penny that was deposited in their care or loaned to them or left with them in their trust or in their supervision.
Dr. Shabir, what advice would you have for somebody who's in financial difficulty right now? Maybe the future is uncertain. They don't know if their job is going to exist after COVID-19 passes. Is there anything within the Quranic tradition that says that would provide some sort of solace for them?
Yes, in the Islamic tradition and in the Quran in particular, it is very clear that God is in control of all affairs, and God will not leave us with more than we can bear. Sometimes we are tested, sometimes we are given trials and difficulties, and the better person will be the one who responds with patience, with trust in God, and the one who does all of the right things to make one's future better. Now, trust in God does not mean that we give up and we say, okay, God is going to do whatever God does, and then we don't make any effort. No, we're going to make whatever efforts. I mean, if somebody has lost his or her job, then naturally it'll be expected of them that they start to prune up their resumes, think about the future, and start planning for how they're going to apply, when they're going to apply. They can start applying now for new and possible jobs and so on. But in the end, what the Quran stresses again and again is that God is the one on whom we should put our trust, and He will make sure that we are fed. In fact, the Quran says that God sends down the rain, which causes the crops to grow, so that we will eat from it, and also the cattle and other creatures will eat from it. In fact, the Quran says, look around and you will see that there are so many creatures. Who is providing for all of these creatures? It is God who is providing for all of them. So God will not leave us to perish. And we may have trials and difficulties, but we need to remain patient, and we need to do everything that is within our abilities, reasonable and legal, to work out our own future for ourselves.
Thank you for sharing these inspiring words of wisdom, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome. You're quite welcome.